in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river I've been...
Attack on our president is not because he was born in Hawaii, and not because he is a Democrat, and not because his name is different. This particular attack on this particular president is because he's black, and it's not just an issue of black people. If we are going to progress in America, it has to be because we're all pulling together, and as Americans, that kind of behavior is unacceptable. For many, many Americans, Barack Obama does not represent the American dream gone right, or a proud example of the American spirit, courage, and tenacity to rise against all odds. No, to many Americans, Barack Obama represents an uppity Negro who is somehow infringing on the privilege and superiority on which they have become so dependent. Being a leader is anything does not mean you will be perfect in everything or every decision you make. Having a difference in the policy and program of a sitting president is nothing new. But there is a process set up in our Constitution to challenge that. This president was elected due to millions of Americans, regardless of color and race and creed, who listened to his platforms, saw his credentials, believed in his vision. Yet in that December, 1 month after he was elected, and 1 month before he was sworn in, Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell stated that the #1 priority of his party was to see that this president was a one-term president. That essentially meant that basically they would do nothing to help him succeed as being a leader of this country. All of a sudden, because of the hatred for this man, who is now the leader of the nation, noble concepts like freedom and justice for all and growing and building this country to be the best on earth became a backseat. Because of the hatred for this man, because of the color of his skin, elected members of Congress would shout out verbiage of disrespect from the floor of open joint session of Congress. A governor would wag her finger at him in public like he was one of her servants who did not do as she liked. And in the latest form of blatant disrespect for the highest office of our land, the national leadership of the opposition party invited the head of state from a foreign government to this country to speak without even asking or involving the head of our own government. The way our president is being treated is a total disgrace. The solution is very simple. The solution to bring back the respect and admiration to America that the world once had lies right in this room. The solution to making life better for everyone lies with everyone respecting the differences, good or bad, of everyone else, but following the system set up by our Constitution to do so. What's wrong is wrong, and what's right is right. There is never a wrong time to do right or to speak out on behalf of what's right. It cannot be just African Americans who stand up and say that the reason this president is hated in such a manner that which he is because he's black. The reason why a small group of politicians believe they can get away with this inexcusable disrespect for the president of this country is because they are banking on the silence of large numbers of white people who know it is wrong. They are banking on the whole idea that there won't be an overflowing amount of Americans who stand up and say, enough is enough. This is not what America stands for. Enough is enough. He is our president. Get over it. In closing, where do we go from here? First, don't be concerned about who is not here at this event tonight to benefit from this message. I know that who is supposed to be here is here. I know that potential for change and the potential for progress lies right here in this room. Over 50 years ago, seeds were planted by two women that would enable a relationship between their children to grow. Seeds grounded in a belief system and a value system that actively demonstrated that all men are created equal and endowed with certain inalienable rights, and those rights included life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. As a result of those two women, over 50 years ago, two men, one black, one white, one who would spend his life in rural Salem County, New Jersey, and one who would spend his life in urban Wilmington, Delaware, one Democrat, one Republican, who would help to shape their views of the world based on their love and respect for each other, and who would also pass their beliefs and values on from their mothers to their children. Let everyone at this moment picture injustice or inequality that goes on around them every day, and unfair practices that are allowed to happen within your eyesight. I want you to picture not how bad things are in Salem County, but picture how good they could be if people with like minds came together and did right simply because it's right. I want you to picture how things could be better if coalitions of well-meaning people, Republicans and Democrats, blacks and whites and Hispanics and Asians, will simply come together, absent of egos, absent of fundamental political differences, and get their heads and hearts together to make things right and better for everyone. In a business law class in college, I learned a principle that I would never forget. That principle was silence creates a contract. That simply means if you see something or participate in something that you don't agree with, but you go along with it anyway, then your silence means you basically accept it, and you could be in some way held accountable. Today, there are schools that are not preparing our children for the future, and we do not speak out against that system. We are condoning it. When there are politicians who do not serve the very people they are supposed to represent, but we elect them anyway, we are responsible. And when we know who the people are in our community, who poison our communities with drugs and terrorize our community with guns, but we say nothing and blame the police for not catching them, we are just as guilty. Eldridge Cleaver once said in his book, Soul on Ice, if you are not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. President Barack Obama once said, we are the people we have been waiting for. God has already given us what we need to cure the ills of our society. If we choose not to use it, we are creating a silence that will lead to our destruction. The great task ahead is not so much to convince the bad people to stop doing bad, but to convince the good people who know it is wrong to speak out against it. The solution is clear. But hold on. I just thought of another plan. Why not implement what I call the Facemeyer-Morris plan? This plan was orchestrated by those two women sitting right over there over 50 years ago. The fundamental doctrine of this plan is very simple and very basic. That doctrine simply says to treat everyone like family, regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of their party affiliation, regardless of where they live. This plan was developed by two supposedly ordinary women who allowed God to use them in an extraordinary way. The plan simply calls for us to do unto others as we would have others to do unto us. The plan simply says, do not think too highly of yourself and think of others as more worthy than you. You see, under the Face My Mars plan, you don't need to hold public office. You don't need 2 or 3 degrees to make a difference. You just have to have a genuine interest in treating people right and making things better. I challenge you today, no matter what the plan is, implement something that puts Salem County on the map. Do that and do it right. And I guarantee you, next year, you will need a bigger building to hold this event. Thank you so much for having me. God bless you all.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like